Chapter 1. Stop letting emotions drive your life. The puppet master in your blood. Imagine you are a captain of a great ship. You have the map, you have the destination, and you have the skill to navigate the seas. But there is a problem. Every time a wave hits the hull, the ship decides for itself where to turn. Every time the wind blows from the east, the rudder snaps in that direction without your permission. You are the captain in name only. In reality, you are a passenger, at the mercy of the elements. This is how most people live their lives. They believe they are in control, but they are actually slaves to their chemical impulses. We call these impulses emotions. We have been sold a lie by modern culture. We are told to follow our hearts, to express every feeling, and that our feelings are valid. While your feelings are real, they are rarely reliable. Emotions are biological weather patterns. They are reactions to your environment, your blood sugar, your sleep schedule, and your past traumas. They are data points, not directives. They are reactions, not commands. The most dangerous person in the room is the one who is a slave to their feelings. Why? Because they are predictable. They can be baited. They can be manipulated. They can be destroyed by their own internal volatility. Repetitive reinforcement. Feel it. Don't follow it. Observe it. Don't obey it. The anatomy of the emotional slave. To master emotional discipline, you must first recognize the cost of lacking it. Look around you at the wreckage of impulsive lives. Think of the high-level executive who spent 20 years building a reputation, only to lose it in 20 seconds because he couldn't control his temper during a board meeting. He felt the surge of anger, he followed it, and he burned his legacy to the ground. Think of the relationship that had the potential for a lifetime of happiness, ruined because one partner was so governed by insecurity that they accused, smothered, and pushed the other away. They felt the fear, they obeyed it, and they ended up alone. Think of the talented entrepreneur who had $1 billion idea but never launched it because every time they felt the pinch of anxiety or the sting of a minor setback, they retreated into the comfort of distraction. They felt the discomfort, they followed it, and they remained mediocre. When you let emotions drive, you are handing the steering wheel of your life to a toddler. A toddler wants what it wants now. It doesn't care about your 5-year plan. It doesn't care about your health. It doesn't care about your dignity. It only cares about immediate relief or immediate pleasure. The biological hijack. Why is this so hard? Because your brain is wired for survival, not for success. The amygdala, the ancient part of your brain, is designed to trigger a fight or flight response. Thousands of years ago, this kept us alive. If you felt fear, it was because a predator was near. You had to follow that fear to survive. But today, there are no saber-toothed tigers. The predator is a snarky comment from a coworker. The threat is a seen notification on a text message that hasn't been replied to. Your brain reacts with the same intensity as if your life were at stake. Your heart races, your vision narrows, and you feel an overwhelming urge to act. The undisciplined man acts. He sends the angry email. He makes the jealous phone call. He eats the junk food because he feels stressed. He stays in bed because he feels unmotivated. The disciplined man recognizes the biological hijack. He feels the surge of adrenaline, the heat in his chest, or the pit in his stomach. But he does not move. He understands that a feeling is just a sensation in the body. It is nothing more than electricity and chemicals. It has no power over him unless he grants it power. Repetitive reinforcement. Feel it. Don't follow it. Observe it. Don't obey it. The power of observation. The first step to emotional discipline is creating a gap. In the gap between stimulus and response lies your freedom. Between the moment someone insults you, the stimulus, and the moment you react, the response, there is a window of time. For the average person, this window is a fraction of a second, too small to notice. For the emotionally disciplined person, that window is a wide-open canyon. In that canyon, you observe the emotion. You look at it as if you are a scientist looking at a specimen under a microscope. Ah, look at that. My chest is tight. That is anger. Look at that. My heart is racing. That is anxiety. Interesting. I feel the urge to explain myself. That is insecurity. When you label the emotion, you detach from it. You are no longer in the storm. You are watching the storm from a sturdy lighthouse. The illusion of pleasure. Emotional discipline isn't just about managing bad emotions like anger or fear. It is also about managing good emotions like pleasure and excitement. Impulse is a thief. Many people ruin their lives chasing the high of the moment. The impulse to spend money they don't have. The impulse to engage in an affair that destroys their family. The impulse to quit a hard project because the initial excitement has worn off. Pleasure is an emotion, and like all emotions, it is fleeting. If you only work when you feel inspired, you will never be consistent. If you only stay faithful when you feel infatuated, you will never have a deep relationship. If you only save money when you feel abundant, you will die broke. Real power is the ability to walk past the bait. It is the ability to say no to a feeling of pleasure because it conflicts with your long-term purpose. The practice of non-reaction. To stop letting emotions drive your life, you must practice the art of doing nothing. When you feel an intense emotion, your body will scream at you to do something. It will tell you to yell, to run, to hide, or to indulge. Your training begins by sitting still. When you are angry, sit still. Do not speak. Do not type. When you are sad, sit still. Do not make major life decisions. When you are panicked, sit still. Do not pivot. The emotion will peak like a wave, and then, if you do not feed it, it will recede. Every time you allow an emotion to pass without acting on it, you strengthen your discipline muscle. You are teaching your nervous system that you are the master, not the chemicals. Conclusion of Chapter 1. Your emotions are like dogs. If they are untrained, they will bark at every shadow and bite your friends. If they are trained, they can be useful tools that alert you to danger or provide warmth. But they must never, ever be the ones holding the leash. From this moment on, you must adopt a new identity. You are no longer a person who reacts. You are a person who responds. A reaction is an emotional reflex. A response is a conscious choice. When the world tries to provoke you, remember, you are a fortress. The wind can howl, the rain can beat against the stone, but the structure inside remains unmoved. Repetitive reinforcement. Feel it. Don't follow it. Observe it. Don't obey it. Feel it. Don't follow it. Observe it. Don't obey it. Chapter 2. The calm mind always wins. The legend of the unmoved. In the year 1582, in a Japan torn apart by civil war, there lived men who understood a truth that most modern humans have forgotten. These were the samurai. Their lives depended on a single second, the time it took to draw a sword. If a samurai felt a flicker of fear, his hand would tremble. If he felt a surge of overconfidence, he would overextend. If he felt anger toward his opponent, his vision would narrow, and he would miss the slight shift in his enemy's stance. The greatest of them, Miyamoto Musashi, fought over 60 duels to the death and never lost. His secret wasn't just his speed or his strength, it was his immovable mind. He wrote that in the midst of a fight for your life, your spirit must be calm yet determined. He knew that the moment a warrior lost his composure, he had already lost his head. We no longer walk the streets with katanas, but the duel remains. Your opponent is the market. Your opponent is the toxic boss. Your opponent is the crisis that hits your family at 3 a.m. In every one of these arenas, the rule remains the same. The calm mind always wins. Repetitive reinforcement. Chaos loses. Calm conquers. Stillness is strength. The high cost of the explosion. We live in a culture that encourages venting. We are told that if we are angry, we should scream. If we are frustrated, we should let it out. We believe that an emotional explosion provides relief. But let's look at the reality. Imagine you are in a heated argument with your spouse or business partner. You feel the pressure building in your chest. You feel the need to say that one cutting, hurtful remark that has been sitting on the tip of your tongue. You let it fly. You explode. For 3 seconds, it feels like a release. You feel a twisted sense of satisfaction. But what happens in the 4th second? The damage is done. You have broken trust. You have revealed your lack of self-control. You have given your opponent ammunition to use against you. You have traded your long-term influence for 3 seconds of chemical relief. Emotional explosions are a leak in your power. Every time you lose your cool, you signal to the world that you are not in charge of yourself. And if you are not in charge of yourself, you can never be in charge of a situation. The world looks for leaders who are level-headed. Why? Because in a crisis, the person who panics is a liability. The person who stays calm is an asset. When you explode, you lose the high ground. You become predictable. You become small. Repetitive reinforcement. Chaos loses. Calm conquers. Stillness is strength. The strategic advantage of composure. Why does the calm mind win? It's simple. Clarity. When your emotions are high, your IQ drops. Biologically, your brain diverts blood flow away from the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic, strategy, and long-term thinking, and sends it to the amygdala and the muscles. You literally become stupider when you are emotional. A calm mind, however, sees the entire chessboard. While others are reacting to the last move, the calm mind is planning the next 3. Think of the greatest athletes in history. Think of Michael Jordan with the ball in his hands and 2 seconds on the clock. The crowd is screaming, the defense is suffocating, and the weight of a championship is on his shoulders. If he feels the chaos of the moment, he misses the shot. But he enters a state of flow. He narrows his focus. To him, the noise is silence. To him, the pressure is a privilege. In business, the person who stays calm during a negotiation is the one who walks away with the better deal. Why? Because the person who gets emotional first is the one who wants the discomfort to end. They will concede, they will overpay, or they will walk away from a good deal just to stop the feeling of tension. The calm negotiator sits in the tension. They embrace the silence. They wait for the other side to crack. Repetitive reinforcement. Chaos loses. Calm conquers. Stillness is strength. The Stoic fortress. The ancient Stoics, some of the most powerful leaders in the Roman Empire, practiced a technique called ataraxia, a state of robust equanimity. Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, spent his reign dealing with plagues, barbarian invasions, and betrayal by his closest generals. He could have been the most stressed man in history. Instead, he wrote in his journals, which we now know as meditations, that the mind which is free from passions is a fortress. He understood that his emotions were not him. They were just external events happening inside his body. He realized that if someone insulted him, the insult only had power if he chose to be hurt. If he remained calm, the insult fell to the ground like a spent arrow. You must build this same fortress. When the chaos of life hits, your car breaks down, your bank account is low, someone spreads a lie about you. You must ask, does me getting upset change the reality of this situation? The answer is always no. In fact, getting upset makes the situation worse because it clouds your ability to fix it. Stillness is not passivity. It is not doing nothing. Stillness is the foundation of effective action. You are the eye of the hurricane. The winds are spinning at 200 miles per hour all around you, but at your center there is peace. From that peace, you can see clearly. From that peace, you can strike. Repetitive reinforcement. Chaos loses. Calm conquers. Stillness is strength. Training the cooling system. You might be thinking, that sounds great, but I'm just a hot-headed person. That is a lie you are telling yourself to excuse your lack of discipline. Calmness is a skill, not a personality trait. It is a muscle that must be trained through repeated exposure to stress. How do you train it? By seeking out controlled chaos. It starts with the breath. When you feel the spark of an emotion, your breath becomes shallow. By forcing yourself to take deep, slow breaths, you send a signal to your nervous system that there is no emergency. You are manually cooling the engine. It continues with your speech. Practice speaking slower when you are under pressure. The faster you talk, the more you feed your own anxiety. When you slow your speech, you regain command of the room and yourself. It involves the third-person perspective. When you feel a wave of emotion, imagine you are a filmmaker watching a scene of yourself. Instead of saying I am angry, say I am observing a person named your name, experiencing anger. This slight shift in language creates a massive shift in psychology. The goal is to become unshakable, not because you don't feel anything, but because you have decided that nothing outside of you is more powerful than the spirit inside of you. The power of the non-reactant. There is a specific kind of power that comes from being the person who doesn't react. When someone tries to provoke you, when they mock you, yell at you, or try to get a rise out of you, and you simply look at them with a calm, steady gaze, you win. Your non-reaction is a mirror that reflects their own instability back at them. It makes them realize they have no power over you. When the market crashes and everyone is selling in a panic, and you stay calm and look for opportunity, you win. When the project fails and everyone is looking for someone to blame, and you stay calm and look for a solution, you win. Chaos is loud, but it is weak. It burns out quickly. Calm is quiet, but it is a relentless force. It is the steady drip of water that eventually carves through a mountain of granite. Conclusion of Chapter 2. The world is a chaotic place. It will try to pull you into its madness every single day. It will try to make you angry, make you afraid, and make you impulsive. Most people will succumb. They will live their lives in a state of constant, low-level panic. But not you. You understand that your mind is your greatest weapon, and a weapon must be kept cool to remain sharp. You will choose stillness over the rush of a reaction. You will choose the long-term victory of composure over the short-term relief of an outburst. While others are drowning in the waves, you will be the rock that the waves break against. Repetitive reinforcement. Chaos loses. Calm conquers. Stillness is strength. Chaos loses. Calm conquers. Stillness is strength. Chapter 3. Control your reaction. Control the outcome. The great illusion. There is a fundamental mistake that almost every human being makes. We walk through life believing that our happiness, our success, and our peace of mind depend on what happens to us. We think that if the economy stays strong, we will be wealthy. We think that if our partner treats us perfectly, we will be happy. We think that if the traffic is light, we will be calm. This is the great illusion. It is the belief that the outcome of your life is a direct result of the event. But the math of the masters is different. There is a formula used by elite performers, special forces operators, and high-level CEOs that changes everything. E plus O equals O. Event plus response equals outcome. The event is the thing you cannot control. The weather, the stock market, the words that come out of a stranger's mouth, the sudden mechanical failure of your car, or a global pandemic. These are external variables. They are indifferent to your plans. The outcome is what happens in the end. It is the final result, the success or failure, the joy or the misery. Most people believe the event causes the outcome. They think the traffic event made me late and angry, outcome. But they are missing the most important part of the equation, the response. The same traffic jam occurs for 1,000 people. One person uses it to scream at their dashboard and spike their cortisol. Another uses it to listen to an educational book and arrive at their destination smarter than when they left. The event was the same. The outcome was different. The only variable was the response. Repetitive reinforcement. The moment you pause, you take power back. The sovereignty of the response. When you realize that you cannot control people or situations, you experience a moment of fear. It feels like you are vulnerable. But that fear is quickly replaced by a massive sense of sovereignty when you realize that nothing can force you to react in a way that harms your future. You are the only person in the universe who has the keys to your internal state. If someone insults you, they are throwing a hook. They are fishing for a reaction. If you get angry, you have swallowed the hook. You have handed them the remote control to your life. You are now dancing to their tune. But if you observe the insult and choose not to internalize it, if you respond with a calm "I see" or simply walk away, you have kept your power. Control is an internal game. You cannot control the wind, but you can control the set of your sails. The same wind that blows one ship onto the rocks carries another ship safely into the harbor. The wind is the event. The set of the sails is the response. The miracle of the Hudson. Consider the story of Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger. In 2009, shortly after takeoff from LaGuardia Airport, his plane struck a flock of geese. Both engines failed. He was over one of the most densely populated areas on Earth in a metal tube weighing 150,000 pounds that was now falling out of the sky. This was the event. It was catastrophic. It was out of his control. Most people, in that moment, would have succumbed to the startle response. The brain would have screamed, "We're going to die," and the body would have frozen or panicked. But Sully was a master of emotional discipline. He felt the fear. He later said his blood pressure was through the roof, but he did not follow it. He chose his response. He didn't waste a single second complaining about the birds. He didn't waste a single second asking, "Why me?" He narrowed his focus to what he could control: his altitude, his airspeed, and his options. He went through his checklists with the calm of a man sitting in a library. Because he controlled his response, he controlled the outcome. He landed that plane on the Hudson River, and every single person on board survived. Had he lost his emotional discipline for even 60 seconds, the outcome would have been a tragedy of epic proportions. Your life may not involve landing a plane on a river, but you face engine failures every week. Your engine failure might be a lost job, a broken heart, or a sudden financial hit. When the engines go quiet, remember Captain Sully. Do not fight the event. Master the response. Repetitive reinforcement. The moment you pause, you take power back. The trap of victimhood. The moment you say, "He made me so mad," or "This situation is making me depressed," you are declaring yourself a victim. You are saying that your internal world is a slave to the external world. A disciplined mind refuses to be a victim. Victims focus on the event. They spend all their energy talking about how unfair the event was, how much it hurt, and who is to blame. They are stuck in a loop of reaction. Leaders focus on the response. They acknowledge the event, but they quickly move past it. They ask, "Given that this has happened, what is the most effective thing I can do right now? What is the most powerful way I can respond?" Think of a business owner whose main supplier suddenly goes out of business. The emotional reaction: panic, calling the supplier to yell at them, telling employees the company might fold, paralyzing the office with fear. Outcome: the business fails. The disciplined response: acknowledge the hit. Take 1 hour to process the stress. Then, immediately begin searching for 3 new suppliers. Call a meeting and tell the team, "We have a challenge, and here is how we are going to overcome it." Outcome: the business finds a better supplier and becomes more resilient. The setback was the same. The outcome was dictated by the emotional restraint of the leader. How to cultivate the response gap. So how do you actually do this in the heat of the moment? How do you stop the autopilot reaction? It comes down to the pause. The pause is the space between the feeling and the action. It is the most powerful moment in human psychology. When you feel the heat of an emotion, you must treat it like a yellow light at an intersection. In the past, you saw the yellow light and you sped up. You reacted. From now on, the yellow light means caution. Identify the physical trigger. Your body knows you're about to react before your mind does. Your jaw tightens. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your hands clench. When you feel these physical signs, say to yourself, "I am in a state of reaction." The 10-second rule. It sounds simple, but it is neurochemically profound. If you can wait just 10 seconds before speaking or acting, the initial surge of adrenaline begins to dissipate. You are moving the decision-making process from the emotional amygdala to the logical prefrontal cortex. Ask the power question. In the pause, ask yourself, "Will this reaction serve my long-term goals?" If the answer is no, discard the reaction. If the reaction is, "I want to yell at my boss," ask yourself, "Does yelling at my boss help me get promoted or keep my paycheck?" The answer is no. Therefore, you do not do it. By creating this gap, you move from being a reactant to being a creator. You are no longer reflecting the energy around you. You are generating your own energy. Repetitive reinforcement. The moment you pause, you take power back. Turning setbacks into success. The history of success is actually a history of disciplined responses to failure. In the 1980s, Steve Jobs was fired from Apple, the company he started. It was a public, humiliating event. He could have spent the rest of his life as a bitter has-been, complaining to anyone who would listen about the board of directors. That would have been an emotional reaction. Instead, Jobs controlled his response. He viewed the firing as a bitter medicine that he needed. He used that time to start Next and Pixar, developing the technology and the leadership skills that would eventually allow him to return to Apple and turn it into the most valuable company on earth. The firing was the event. The return of the king was the outcome. The disciplined response was the bridge between them. When you face a setback, you must realize that the setback is not the end of the story. It is simply a plot twist. If you react with despair, the story ends there. If you respond with discipline, the story becomes a legend. The ultimate power. True power is not the ability to control others. True power is the ability to remain unchanged by the attempts of others to control you. When you master your response, you become unfuckwithable. You can be in the middle of a literal war zone, a corporate collapse, or a personal crisis, and your inner core remains solid. People will look at you and wonder how you stay so calm. They will think you have some secret. And you do. Your secret is that you have stopped trying to change the E and have mastered the R. You have realized that while the world can take your money, your job, or your health, it cannot force you to have a specific reaction without your consent. You are the gatekeeper of your mind. Nothing enters or leaves without your permission. Repetitive reinforcement. The moment you pause, you take power back. Conclusion of Chapter 3. As you move through your day-to-day, you will encounter dozens of events. Most will be small, a rude email, a red light, a spilled coffee. Some may be large. Your challenge is to see each one as a test of your discipline. Do not let the event dictate the outcome. Do not let the world tell you how to feel. Take the pause. Breathe. Evaluate your goals. And then, choose the response that moves you toward the person you want to become. Control your reaction, and you will control the world. Repetitive reinforcement. The moment you pause, you take power back. The moment you pause, you take power back. Chapter 4. Pain is a teacher, not a trigger. The cult of comfort. We live in the most comfortable era in human history. We have climate-controlled rooms, food delivered to our doors with a tap on a screen, and endless entertainment to numb our minds the moment we feel a hint of boredom or sadness. We have been conditioned to believe that pain is an error, a glitch in the system that must be fixed, avoided, or medicated immediately. Because of this, we have become emotionally fragile. When we encounter the pain of a difficult conversation, the pain of a failed project, or the pain of a broken heart, our immediate instinct is to run. We treat pain as a trigger to escape. We seek the nearest exit, the nearest distraction, or the nearest person to blame. But here is the hard truth that every master of emotional discipline knows. Pain is the great filter. On one side of the filter are the masses who retreat at the first sign of discomfort and live small, safe, unfulfilled lives. On the other side are the few who understand that pain is not a signal to stop, it is a signal to pay attention. It is not a trigger for a reaction. It is a teacher with a profound lesson to impart. Repetitive reinforcement. Feel the pain. Learn the lesson. Move forward stronger. The biological signal. To master your emotions, you must understand what pain actually is. Biologically, pain, whether physical or emotional, is an alarm system. Its job is to tell you that something is wrong. When you touch a hot stove, the physical pain tells you to pull your hand back so you don't burn to the bone. That is a useful reaction. But emotional pain is different. When you feel the burn of rejection or the sting of failure, the stove isn't external. The pain is coming from your interpretation of the event. Most people treat emotional pain like the hot stove. They feel the sting and they pull their hand back from life. They stop trying. They stop being vulnerable. They stop taking risks. They let the pain trigger a retreat into a shell of self-protection. The emotionally disciplined person does the opposite. They feel the burn and, instead of pulling away, they lean in. They ask, why does this hurt? What part of my ego is being bruised? What is this sensation trying to tell me about my preparation, my expectations, or my character? The alchemy of the crucible. In the ancient world, a crucible was a ceramic or metal container in which metals could be melted at very high temperatures. It was a place of extreme heat and pressure. The purpose of the crucible was to burn away the impurities in the metal, leaving only the pure, valuable gold or silver behind. Your life is a crucible. The pain you experience is the heat. If you run from the heat, you remain unrefined. You stay full of the impurities of insecurity, weakness, and immaturity. But if you have the emotional discipline to stay in the crucible, to feel the heat without breaking, the fire will eventually burn away everything that is weak in you. Think of a person who has gone through a devastating business failure. The reactionary path. They feel the pain of losing their money and their status. It triggers a deep sense of shame. To stop the pain, they blame their partners, they blame the economy, and they vow never to try again. They become bitter. The pain has triggered a life of mediocrity. The disciplined path. They feel the same shame and the same loss. But they sit with it. They let the pain teach them. They realize they were arrogant. They realize they didn't watch the numbers closely enough. They realize they hired the wrong people. The pain burns away their arrogance and replaces it with wisdom. They emerge from the fire as a more dangerous, more competent leader. Repetitive reinforcement. Feel the pain. Learn the lesson. Move forward stronger. The difference between a trigger and a teacher. A trigger is a stimulus that forces an automatic, unconscious reaction. If you are triggered by pain, you are not a conscious being. You are a biological machine. You are like a dog that snarls when you touch its wounded paw. There is no thought, only reflex. A teacher is a source of information that requires conscious engagement. When you view pain as a teacher, you change your relationship with it. You move from "why is this happening to me?" to "what is this trying to show me?" The pain of loneliness. This is not a trigger to go find a meaningless distraction or a toxic relationship. It is a teacher telling you that you haven't yet learned how to be comfortable in your own company. It is a lesson in self-reliance. The pain of rejection. This is not a trigger to believe you are worthless. It is a teacher showing you where your self-esteem is too dependent on the opinions of others. It is a lesson in internal validation. The pain of discipline, the grind. This is not a trigger to quit and go back to the couch. It is a teacher showing you the limits of your current endurance. It is a lesson in grit. The moment you label the pain as a lesson, the pain loses its power to paralyze you. It becomes fuel. Hardship forging unstoppable strength. History is written by people who were forged in the fire of hardship. Consider Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who was imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps during the Holocaust. He lost his family, his career, and his dignity. He was surrounded by the ultimate form of human suffering and pain. He saw men around him lose their emotional discipline. They became walking corpses who had given up, or they became predators who turned on their fellow prisoners. Frankl realized that while the guards could control his body and inflict pain, they could not control his response to that pain. He used the pain as a teacher. He observed how the human spirit responds to suffering. He found meaning in the pain by deciding that his lesson was to survive and tell the world how to find hope in the dark. He didn't let the pain trigger a collapse. He let it forge an unstoppable mental strength that allowed him to survive and later write Man's Search for Meaning, a book that has guided millions. The same is true for the Iron Man of modern times, David Goggins. He grew up in an abusive household, struggled with learning disabilities, and was morbidly obese. He was a man drowning in physical and emotional pain. Most would have used that pain as a trigger to live a life of excuses. Instead, Goggins used it as a teacher. He realized that the pain was the only way to find out who he truly was. He sought out the hardest training on earth, Navy SEAL training, not because he liked it, but because he wanted to callous his mind against the pain. He moved from running from discomfort to being the person who eats discomfort for breakfast. Repetitive reinforcement. Feel the pain. Learn the lesson. Move forward stronger. The discomfort audit. To apply this in your life, you must stop being an emotional hedonist. You must stop prioritizing feeling good over being good. Start by conducting a discomfort audit. Look at the areas of your life where you are currently stagnant. Is it your health, your career, your finances, your relationships, Behind every area of stagnation, you will find a pain gate. There is a specific kind of discomfort that you are avoiding, and that avoidance is what is keeping you stuck. If you're out of shape, the pain gate is the physical exertion of the gym. If you're in a dead-end job, the pain gate is the fear of rejection during a new job search. If you're lonely, the pain gate is the vulnerability of meeting new people. Your mission is to walk through the gate. Don't wait for the motivation to do it. Motivation is a feeling, and we already know feelings are unreliable. Instead, use your discipline. Acknowledge the pain. Say to yourself, I feel the fear, boredom, exhaustion. I know it's there, and I'm going to do the work anyway because the lesson I need is on the other side of this feeling. Sitting with the sensation. The next time you feel a triggering emotion, anger, jealousy, deep sadness, do not reach for your phone. Do not open a bottle. Do not start an argument. Just sit. Set a timer for 10 minutes and feel the sensation in your body. Notice the heat in your neck. Notice the pressure in your temples. Notice the hollow feeling in your stomach. This is the teacher speaking to you. When you sit with pain without reacting to it, you are proving to your subconscious that you are stronger than the sensation. You are breaking the trigger reaction circuit. You are realizing that pain is just a guest in your house. It is not the owner of the home. The pain will eventually pass. It always does. But the strength you gained by refusing to be moved by it will remain. Conclusion of Chapter 4. Pain is not your enemy. It is the grit that creates the pearl. It is the friction that creates the fire. It is the resistance that builds the muscle. The people who change the world are not the ones who never felt pain. They are the ones who felt it most acutely and chose to listen to what it had to teach them. They used their scars as a map of where they have been and a reminder of what they can endure. Stop running. Stop hiding. Stop numbing. The next time life hits you, don't ask, why is this happening? Stand tall, breathe into the discomfort, and ask, what are you trying to teach me? Repetitive reinforcement. Feel the pain. Learn the lesson. Move forward stronger. Feel the pain. Learn the lesson. Move forward stronger. Chapter 5. Silence is a weapon. The curse of the constant talker. Look around you in any office, any social gathering, or any online comment section. What do you see? You see a desperate, frantic need to be heard. You see people who are terrified of a 3-second pause in conversation. You see individuals who feel that if they don't explain their side of the story, if they don't defend their reputation, or if they don't voice their opinion immediately, they will somehow cease to exist. This is not communication. This is emotional leakage. When you are governed by your emotions, you talk too much. You explain yourself to people who don't matter. You reveal your plans before they are ready. You confess your insecurities under the guise of being vulnerable. Most dangerously, you react to every provocation with a volley of words that you can never take back. The emotionally disciplined person understands a truth that the world has forgotten. Silence is not a void. Silence is a weapon. It is a tool of observation, a shield of protection, and a strategic force that can dismantle an opponent without firing a single shot. Repetitive reinforcement. Say less. Watch more. Win quietly. The information war. In any interaction, whether it's a high-stakes business negotiation, a heated argument with a partner, or a simple conversation with a stranger, there is an invisible exchange of power happening. That power is fueled by information. When you talk, you are giving away information. You are revealing your hand. You are showing the world your biases, your fears, your level of intelligence, and your emotional state. Every word you speak is a data point that someone else can use to map your psychology. When you are silent, you are collecting information. By remaining quiet, you force the other person to fill the space. Human beings are naturally uncomfortable with silence. It creates a psychological pressure. To relieve that pressure, an undisciplined person will start talking. They will ramble. They will over-explain. They will eventually say something they didn't intend to say. They will reveal their price, their weakness, or their true intentions. The person who can sit in silence without flinching is the person who controls the room. They are the predator waiting for the prey to make a sound. Repetitive reinforcement. Say less. Watch more. Win quietly. The ego's need to explain. Why is silence so hard? Because your ego is a loud, demanding child. When someone misunderstands you, your ego screams, correct them. Explain why you're right. When someone insults you, your ego screams, defend yourself. Show them they can't talk to you like that. When you have a great idea, your ego screams, tell everyone. Get the credit now. All of these impulses are emotional. They are rooted in a need for external validation. You want the other person to see you or agree with you so that you can feel better in the moment. But this is a trap. Think about the most powerful people you have ever met. Do they talk the most? Usually, they don't. They speak in short, calculated sentences. They don't repeat themselves. They don't beg for understanding. Their silence creates an aura of authority. It says, I know who I am, and I don't need your approval to confirm it. When you stop explaining yourself, you reclaim your energy. You stop trying to manage other people's perceptions of you, which is a battle you can never win anyway, and you start managing your own reality. Silence in the face of provocation. One of the greatest tests of emotional discipline is how you respond to an insult or an attack. The emotional person reacts fast. They fire back an insult. They get defensive. They get loud. In doing so, they descend to the level of the attacker. They have been hooked. The attacker now knows exactly how to rattle them. The disciplined person uses silence as a mirror. When someone yells at you or tries to bait you, and you respond with nothing but a calm, steady gaze, you are essentially holding up a mirror to their own instability. Your silence makes their tantrum look ridiculous. It makes them feel small. It robs them of the payoff they were looking for, which was to see you get upset. There is a legendary story about a man who came to insult the Buddha. The man screamed at him, spat on him, and called him every name in the book. The Buddha simply sat in silence. Finally, the man, exhausted and confused, asked, "Why don't you fight back? Why don't you say something?" The Buddha replied, "If you offer someone a gift and they refuse to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man said, "It belongs to the one who offered it." The Buddha smiled. "Exactly. I refuse to accept your anger." Your silence is your refusal to accept the gift of someone else's chaos. Repetitive reinforcement. Say less. Watch more. Win quietly. The strategic strike. Silence is not just about holding back. It is about choosing the exact right moment to move. Emotional people are like scatterguns. They fire in all directions, wasting ammunition, hoping to hit something. The disciplined person is a sniper. They wait. They watch. They let the situation develop. They let the noise of others reveal the path. And when they finally do speak or act, it is with such precision and timing that the result is decisive. In the world of strategy, there is a concept called the OODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, act. The observe and orient phases require silence. If you are talking, you cannot observe. If you are reacting, you cannot orient yourself to the truth of the situation. When you win quietly, you don't need a victory lap. You don't need to brag. You don't need to tell everyone "I told you so." The result speaks for itself. The world notices the person who gets things done without the drama. They notice the person who stays calm while everyone else is gossiping or complaining. The practice. How to weaponize silence. How do you begin to master this? It starts with small, daily disciplines. The 5-second rule. In any conversation, after someone finishes speaking, count to 5 in your head before you reply. This does 2 things. It ensures you've actually heard them, and it makes your response carry more weight. It shows you are thinking, not just reacting. Stop filling the dead air. When you're in an elevator, a meeting, or on a date, and a silence falls, don't break it. Notice the urge to say something, anything, to ease the tension. Watch that urge. Feel it. And then, let it go. Become comfortable in the stillness. The no explanation policy. Try going a whole day without explaining your decisions to people who didn't ask. If you say no to an invitation, just say "I can't make it," and leave it at that. You don't need to provide a list of excuses. Your no is enough. Listen for the subtext. Because you aren't busy thinking about what you are going to say next, you can finally hear what the other person is actually saying. Listen to their tone. Watch their body language. Notice what they are avoiding saying. This is where the real truth lies. The mystery of authority. There is a psychological phenomenon where we attribute more intelligence and power to people who speak less. We assume that behind the silence, there is a deep well of thought and a formidable will. Think about the strong, silent type in cinema or history. Why are they captivating? Because they are a mystery. You don't know their every thought, so you cannot easily categorize or dismiss them. When you talk too much, you become common. You become known. When you use silence, you maintain an air of unpredictability. In any competitive environment, be it sports, business, or social hierarchy, unpredictability is a massive advantage. If they don't know what you're thinking, they don't know how to stop you. Repetitive reinforcement. Say less. Watch more. Win quietly. Conclusion of Chapter 5. The world is noisy, and it will try to pull you into the noise. It will try to make you loud, reactive, and transparent. It wants you to be emotional because emotional people are easy to manage and easy to ignore. But you are choosing a different path. You are choosing the path of the observer. You are choosing to keep your counsel. You are choosing to let your results do the talking. Remember, the loudest person in the room is often the weakest. They are using their voice to cover up their fear. The quietest person in the room is often the most dangerous. They are using their silence to prepare their victory. Keep your mouth shut, your eyes open, and your heart steady. Repetitive reinforcement. Say less. Watch more. Win quietly. Say less. Watch more. Win quietly. Chapter 6. Detach from what you can't control. The war against reality. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from hard work, but from a spiritual and emotional friction. It is the exhaustion of fighting reality. Think about the last time you were truly stressed. Perhaps you were stuck in traffic, running late for a meeting. Perhaps you were waiting for a medical result, or you were worried about what a certain person was thinking of you. In all of those scenarios, your stress came from a single source. You were trying to exert your will over something that was entirely out of your hands. You were, in effect, yelling at the rain for being wet. You were trying to stop the tide with a bucket. Emotional discipline is not just about managing your internal fire. It is about recognizing where that fire is being wasted. Most people spend 90% of their emotional energy on things they have 0% control over. They fret about the economy, they obsess over the gossip of others, they lose sleep over the mistakes they made 10 years ago, and they panic about what might happen tomorrow. The master of emotional discipline understands the dichotomy of control. They draw a line in the sand. On one side is the internal world, their thoughts, their intentions, and their actions. On the other side is the external world, the weather, the past, the marketplace, and the choices of other people. The disciplined mind lives on the internal side. Everything else is a distraction. Repetitive reinforcement. Control effort. Release results. The archer's paradox. In the ancient world, the Stoic philosophers used the metaphor of the archer to explain how to live a life of detachment. Imagine an archer aiming at a target. The archer does everything in his power to hit the mark. He chooses the finest bow. He meticulously flecks his arrows. He spends years training his muscles and his eye. He waits for the wind to settle. He pulls the string back with perfect form, takes a deep breath, and releases. Up until the moment the arrow leaves the string, the archer is in control. But the second the arrow is in the air, the archer's control vanishes. A sudden gust of wind could blow it off course. A bird could fly in its path. The target itself could move. The emotional amateur ties his happiness to whether or not the arrow hits the bullseye. If it hits, he is a god. If it misses, he is a failure. He lives in a state of constant anxiety while the arrow is in flight. The emotionally disciplined archer is different. He finds his satisfaction in the drawing of the bow. He knows that he did everything humanly possible to ensure a good shot. Whether the arrow hits or misses is a matter of fate, it is an external outcome. Because he has detached his ego from the result, he remains calm regardless of the score. You must become the archer. In your career, in your fitness, and in your personal life, you must give 100% effort to the process, but you must remain completely indifferent to the outcome. Repetitive reinforcement. Control effort. Release results. The poison of attachment. Why is it so hard to detach? Because our ego demands certainty. We feel that if we worry enough, we can somehow ensure a positive outcome. We believe that if we are invested enough, the universe will reward us. But attachment is a form of bondage. When you are attached to a specific result, getting the job, winning the argument, having someone like you, you have handed your power to that result. You are now a prisoner of hope and a victim of fear. If the result doesn't go your way, you crumble. You feel that your worth has been diminished. This is why people experience burnout. Burnout isn't caused by too much work. It's caused by working hard for a result that you aren't getting, and then letting that lack of a result destroy your peace. Emotional discipline means releasing the need for things to go your way. It is the realization that you can be successful in your effort even if you are unsuccessful in the outcome. Think of a professional athlete. They can play the best game of their life, perfect strategy, perfect execution, and still lose because the other team played slightly better or because the referee made a bad call. An emotional athlete will throw a tantrum, blame the refs, and carry that negativity into the next game. A disciplined athlete will say, "I played at my peak. I controlled what I could. The score is not my identity." The control audit. To practice detachment, you must perform a control audit every time you feel the weight of stress or anxiety. Stop and ask yourself, is this situation, or any part of it, within my direct control? If you are worried about a promotion, controllable, the quality of your work, your punctuality, your attitude, and your communication with the boss. Uncontrollable, the boss's personal biases, the company's budget, and the qualifications of other candidates. If you focus on the uncontrollables, you will be an emotional wreck. You will start people-pleasing, you will get paranoid, and your work will actually suffer. If you focus solely on the controllables, you will be the most efficient worker in the building. And if you don't get the promotion, you have the discipline to say, "The result was out of my control, but my growth during the process was not. I am moving on to the next target." Repetitive reinforcement. Control effort. Release results. Acceptance is not passivity. A common misconception is that detachment means you don't care, or that you are giving up. This could not be further from the truth. Detachment is not passivity. It is radical acceptance of reality. When you fight reality, you are wasting energy that could be used to adapt. If your car breaks down on the way to an important event, the emotional reaction is to curse, hit the steering wheel, and ruin your mood for the next 5 hours. This is a rejection of reality. The car is broken. No amount of anger will fix the alternator. The disciplined response is to accept the reality immediately. Okay, the car is broken. That is the situation. By accepting it, you free up your brain to find the next move. You call the tow truck, you call an Uber, and you move forward. There is a profound power in the phrase, "It is what it is." It is not a phrase of defeat, it is a phrase of liberation. It means you have stopped wasting your spirit on the unchangeable. You are no longer fighting the wind. You are adjusting your sails. Amor fati, loving your fate. The highest level of emotional discipline is what the Romans called amor fati, the love of fate. It is the ability to not only tolerate what happens but to embrace it. It is the understanding that every setback, every bad event, and every lost outcome is exactly what you needed to grow. When you lose a job, amor fati says, "Good. This is an opportunity to find a better fit or to start my own business." When you are betrayed, amor fati says, "Good. This is a lesson in discernment and a chance to build inner strength." When you detach from the outcome, you realize that success is not a destination you reach. Success is the state of mind you maintain while you are traveling. If you can stay disciplined, calm, and focused regardless of the storm outside, you have already won. The world can no longer touch you. Repetitive reinforcement. Control effort. Release results. Reclaiming your energy. Every time you worry about a what if, you are leaking energy. Every time you check your phone for a notification that hasn't come, you are leaking energy. Every time you replay an argument in your head, trying to win it in retrospect, you are leaking energy. Imagine your emotional energy is like water in a canteen. You are in a desert. Every drop is precious. Most people are walking through the desert with 100 holes in their canteen, letting their life force drip into the sand of uncontrollables. The disciplined person plugs the holes. They decide, I will not spend one more drop of my spirit on what people think of me. I will not spend one more drop on the mistakes of yesterday. I will pour all of my energy into what I'm doing right now. When you live this way, you become a calm force. Because you aren't drained by the drama of the world, you have a massive reservoir of strength available when a real crisis hits. You are the only person with a full canteen. Conclusion of Chapter 6. The secret to a powerful life is a paradox. To get the best results, you must stop caring about the results. You must fall in love with the work, the training, the discipline, and the effort. You must treat the outcome as a preferred indifferent. If it goes your way, great. If it doesn't, that is also fine, because your peace of mind was never for sale in the first place. Today, look at the things that are bothering you. List them out. Cross out everything that you cannot change with your own 2 hands today. Look at what remains, your effort, your response, your work, and give it everything you have. Release the rest to the wind. Repetitive reinforcement. Control effort. Release results. Control effort. Release results. Chapter 7. Build unshakable inner stability. The architecture of the soul. If you were to build a skyscraper in a city prone to earthquakes, you wouldn't start by polishing the glass on the top floor. You wouldn't spend your time choosing the color of the carpets or the art for the lobby. You would spend months, perhaps years, digging deep into the earth to lay a foundation of reinforced concrete and steel. You would build a structure that is designed to flex without breaking, a core that remains stable even when the ground beneath it begins to heave. Most people are emotional shacks. They are built on sand, held together by the thin plywood of temporary motivation. When the sun is shining and the breeze is light, they look fine. But the moment a storm hits, a financial loss, a personal betrayal, a health scare, the entire structure collapses into a pile of splinters. Unshakable inner stability is not a gift. It is not something you are born with. It is a deliberate architectural project. It is the result of daily, repetitive habits that strengthen your emotional resilience. If you want a mind that can withstand the earthquakes of life, you must build it brick by brick every single day. Repetitive reinforcement. Train the mind like you train the body. The reactive morning versus the proactive morning. Your emotional stability for the day is largely decided in the first 30 minutes after you wake up. Think about the average person's morning routine. The alarm goes off, an immediate stressor. They reach for their smartphone, a portal to the world's chaos. Within seconds, they are looking at emails from a demanding boss, news of a tragedy on the other side of the planet, or social media posts that trigger feelings of inadequacy or jealousy. Before they have even brushed their teeth, they have handed their emotional remote control to 1,000 strangers. They have entered a reactive state. Their nervous system is already on high alert. Their cortisol is spiking. They are starting the day from a place of deficit. The disciplined person understands that the morning is a sanctuary. You do not let the world in until you have fortified your own mind. The no-phone rule. Do not touch your phone for the first hour of the day. This is the ultimate test of emotional discipline. By refusing to check notifications, you are telling your brain that your thoughts are more important than the world's demands. The mental priming. Spend 10 minutes in silence, meditation, or prayer. This is not about being spiritual, it is about mental calibration. It is about centering your awareness so that you are the observer of your thoughts rather than the victim of them. The physical anchor. Move your body. Whether it's a heavy lifting session, a run, or simple stretching, physical movement burns off the stagnant energy of sleep and triggers the release of neurotransmitters that create a baseline of calm confidence. Repetitive reinforcement. Train the mind like you train the body. The exposure therapy of discipline. You cannot become strong in a world where everything is easy. Stability is forged through voluntary discomfort. In the world of physical training, we use progressive overload. If you want to lift 300 pounds, you start by lifting 50, then 100, then 150. You purposely stress the muscle so that it breaks down and grows back stronger. Emotional discipline works the exact same way. If you live a life of total comfort, the smallest inconvenience will feel like a catastrophe. If you never experience hunger, a late lunch will make you hangry and irritable. If you never experience cold, a broken heater will make you feel like your life is over. To build unshakable stability, you must seek out small doses of discomfort. The cold shower. There is perhaps no better tool for emotional discipline than the cold shower. Your brain screams no. Your body prepares for a crisis. By stepping into the freezing water anyway and forcing yourself to breathe slowly and remain calm, you are training your nervous system to stay stable in the face of a shock. You are teaching yourself that you can be under intense pressure and still be the master of your response. Intermittent fasting. By choosing when you eat, rather than eating the moment you feel a pang of hunger, you are practicing detachment from biological impulses. You are learning that a feeling, hunger, is not a command to eat. Hard physical training. When your lungs are burning and your muscles are screaming for you to stop, but you choose to finish the final set, you are building mental callus. When you voluntarily face small fires, you become fireproof when the big ones come. Repetitive reinforcement. Train the mind like you train the body. The power of the brain dump. Inner stability is often sabotaged by mental clutter. Most people are walking around with 50 open tabs in the browser of their mind. They are worrying about an email they didn't send, a comment someone made at lunch, and a bill that's due next week. This clutter creates a constant hum of low-level anxiety. The disciplined mind uses externalization. Every morning or every evening, you must engage in a brain dump, a form of journaling. This is not Dear Diary venting. It is a strategic clearing of the deck. Write down every single thing that is weighing on your mind. Get it out of your head and onto the paper. Once it is on paper, you can apply the dichotomy of control from Chapter 6. Is this a task? Put it on the to-do list. Is this an uncontrollable worry? Cross it out and let it go. Is this a recurring emotion? Observe it, label it, and move on. By externalizing your internal world, you create mental space. You realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the one who is writing the thoughts. This separation is the core of stability. Cognitive guardrails, the premortem. Powerful leaders use a technique called a premortem. Most people do a postmortem. They look back at a disaster and ask what went wrong. A premortem is the opposite. You look into the future and imagine that everything has gone wrong. Imagine your most important project has failed. Imagine your partner has left you. Imagine you've lost your job. Now, ask yourself, how would the most disciplined version of myself respond to this? By pre-playing the disaster in your mind while you are currently calm, you are creating emotional guardrails. You are preparing your response before the event even happens. When a real crisis hits, your brain won't panic because it will recognize the scenario. It will say, "We've been here before. We already have the protocol." Stability comes from being prepared, not from being lucky. Repetitive reinforcement. Train the mind like you train the body. The anchor of routine. Chaos thrives on the unpredictable. If your life has no rhythm, if you eat at different times, sleep at different times, and work in fits and starts, your emotions will be just as erratic. Stability is built on routine. A routine is an emotional anchor. It gives your nervous system a sense of safety. When the world is spinning out of control, your routine is the one thing that remains constant. Look at the elite performers in any field: special forces, professional musicians, world-class surgeons. They are obsessed with their pre-performance routines. They put their gear away the same way every time. They go through the same warm-up. This routine signals to the brain, it is time to be calm. It is time to perform. We are in control. You need a baseline routine. A set of 5 or 6 non-negotiable habits that you do regardless of how you feel. Make your bed. Read 10 pages. Exercise. Complete your 3 most important tasks. Review your goals. On the days when you feel like a storm is hitting you, cling to the routine. Do not let your emotions dictate your actions. If you said you were going to the gym at 5 p.m., go at 5 p.m., especially if you feel like crying or yelling or hiding. By sticking to the routine, you are reinforcing the truth that you are the master, not your feelings. The compounding effect of stability. Emotional stability follows the law of compound interest. In the beginning, these habits, the cold showers, the journaling, the no-phone rule, feel like a chore. You won't see a massive change in a day. But over weeks and months, something miraculous happens. You begin to develop a deep calm. You notice that things that used to trigger you no longer have an effect. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you don't even feel the urge to honk. A project fails, and you simply start the next one without a moment of self-pity. You have built so much inner capital that you can afford to pay the taxes of life's frustrations without going bankrupt. This stability creates a calm confidence. People will start to notice it. They will see that you don't rattle. They will see that you are the stable point in a chaotic world. This is the true meaning of power. Power is not the ability to cause a storm. It is the ability to be the rock that the storm cannot move. Repetitive reinforcement. Train the mind like you train the body. Conclusion of Chapter 7. You are the architect of your own mind. You can choose to live in a fragile shack, or you can choose to build a fortress. The world will not stop being chaotic. People will not stop being difficult. The economy will not stop being unpredictable. The only thing you can change is the structure of your internal world. Stop waiting for the world to settle down so you can be at peace. Build the peace within yourself through the discipline of your habits. Train your mind with the same intensity, the same consistency, and the same ruthlessness that an athlete trains their body. When you are stable on the inside, nothing on the outside can take you down. Repetitive reinforcement. Train the mind like you train the body. Train the mind like you train the body. Chapter 8. Master anger before it masters you. The poisoned sword. There is a common misconception about anger. We often mistake it for strength. When we feel that heat rise in our chest, when our voice becomes a roar and our muscles tighten, we feel powerful. In that moment of rage, we feel like a god of destruction, capable of leveling anything in our path. We believe that by blowing up, we are asserting our dominance and forcing the world to respect us. But this is the ultimate deception. Anger is not a sword, it is a poisoned blade with no handle. Every time you swing it at someone else, you are cutting your own hand open. Anger is the only emotion that makes you feel like you are in total control while you are actually at your most vulnerable. Think about it. When you are angry, you are predictable. You can be baited. You can be led into a trap. An angry person is like a puppet with the strings exposed. Anyone who knows how to pull those strings can make you dance. If someone can make you angry, they have conquered you. They have bypassed your intelligence and gone straight to your animal instincts. The master of emotional discipline knows that anger is an expensive luxury. It costs you your clarity, your reputation, and your future. To be truly powerful, you must master anger before it masters you. Repetitive reinforcement. Pause. Breathe. Choose strength over reaction. The biological blindfold. When anger takes over, a chemical cascade floods your system. Adrenaline and cortisol surge. Your heart rate skyrockets. This is the fight part of the fight or flight response. It is designed to help you survive a physical attack. But there is a high price for this physical boost. Your thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex, effectively shuts down. You are operating on an ancient, primitive operating system. This is why people who are angry say things they don't mean and do things they later regret. They are quite literally blinded by rage. Their vision narrows, and they lose the ability to see consequences. If you are a businessman, anger makes you make bad investments. If you are a parent, anger makes you break the spirit of your child. If you are a leader, anger makes you lose the loyalty of your team. Anger feels like fire, but it functions like a fog. It obscures the truth and leaves you stumbling in the dark. Repetitive reinforcement. Pause. Breathe. Choose strength over reaction. The wreckage of an instant. The history of human misery is written in the seconds of impulsive rage. Consider the road rage incident that turns a minor traffic dispute into a prison sentence. A man is cut off in traffic. He feels the disrespect. His ego demands satisfaction. He follows the other car, screams, and perhaps gets into a physical altercation. In those 30 seconds of rage, he destroys his life. He loses his job, his freedom, and his family's security, all because he couldn't control a chemical surge in his blood. Consider the workplace outburst. A talented professional is passed over for a promotion. They feel the sting of unfairness. Instead of using that energy to improve or find a better opportunity, they march into the boss's office and unleash a torrent of insults. In 5 minutes, they burn a decade's worth of networking and reputation. The industry is small. Word spreads. They are now unhireable. These people aren't evil. They are just undisciplined. They allowed a temporary feeling to make a permanent decision. They believed that their anger was justified, and they let it drive the car. You must realize that being right does not give you the right to be reckless. You can be 100% correct in your grievance and still be 100% stupid in your reaction. Anger is information, not an action plan. Emotional discipline does not mean you never feel anger. That is impossible. As long as you are alive, you will feel the spark of irritation, the burn of resentment, and the heat of fury. The difference is that the disciplined person treats anger as information. When you feel anger, it is a signal that a boundary has been crossed, an expectation hasn't been met, or a value has been violated. That is useful data. But just because the smoke alarm is going off doesn't mean you should burn the whole house down. When the spark of anger hits, the disciplined mind asks, "Why am I feeling this? Is my ego being bruised, or is there a genuine injustice? What is the most effective way to solve this problem?" Notice the word, effective. Anger is rarely effective. It is loud, it is messy, and it creates more problems than it solves. Strength, on the other hand, is surgical. Strength is quiet. Strength solves the problem without the drama. Repetitive reinforcement. Pause. Breathe. Choose strength over reaction. The cooling techniques. To master anger, you must develop a cooling system that activates the moment you feel the heat. 1. The 3-breath rule. When you feel the urge to snap, stop. Take 3 deep, conscious breaths. This isn't just mindfulness, it's a physiological hack. By forcing deep breaths, you are manually overriding the fight or flight response. You are telling your nervous system, "There is no tiger. Stand down." 2. The 24-hour rule. If you are angry about an email, a text, or a comment, you are forbidden from responding for 24 hours. Sleep on it. In 99% of cases, the urgent need to lash out will have vanished by the morning. You will be able to respond from a place of strategy rather than a place of emotion. 3. The spectator method. When you are angry, imagine you are standing on a balcony looking down at yourself. See the angry version of you. See how ridiculous they look. See the tension in their face. By watching yourself, you create distance. You move from being in the anger to being the observer of the anger. 4. The substitution of purpose. Ask yourself, what do I actually want? Do you want to win the argument, or do you want to keep the relationship? Do you want to vent, or do you want to get the deal done? Anger always wants to vent. Discipline always wants the goal. Always choose the goal over the feeling. Repetitive reinforcement. Pause. Breathe. Choose strength over reaction. Converting heat into power. The most dangerous person is not the one who screams. The most dangerous person is the one who is deeply, quietly angry, but uses that energy to fuel their work. This is cool anger. It is the ability to take the energy of a slight or an injustice and turn it into a relentless drive for excellence. Instead of yelling at your detractors, you outwork them. Instead of obsessing over a betrayal, you build a life so successful that their betrayal becomes irrelevant. Anger is a high-octane fuel. If you let it sit in a pile, it just creates a dangerous fire. But if you put it into an engine, it can take you 1,000 miles. Do not waste your anger on words. Save it for your work. Save it for your discipline. Save it for your comeback. The dignity of restraint. There is a profound dignity in the person who remains calm while being attacked. When someone is yelling at you, they are trying to bring you down to their level. They want to prove that you are just as unstable as they are. When you refuse to react, when you stay quiet, stay calm, and stay focused, you are demonstrating a level of superiority that words can never express. Your silence is a statement of power. It says, "Your opinion of me is not my reality. Your chaos does not move me. I am the master of this space." This doesn't mean you are a doormat. You can be incredibly firm, you can set hard boundaries, and you can take decisive action, all without raising your voice. In fact, a quiet no is often much more terrifying than a screamed one. Conclusion of Chapter 8. Anger is a test of your character. It is the universe asking, are you a man or are you a beast? Are you the captain of your ship or are you just a piece of driftwood? Every time you choose to pause instead of react, you are winning. Every time you choose to breathe instead of explode, you are building your fortress. Every time you choose strength over reaction, you are becoming the person that others can rely on. Don't let your temper steal your future. Control the fire, or it will consume you. Repetitive reinforcement. Pause. Breathe. Choose strength over reaction. Pause. Breathe. Choose strength over reaction. Chapter 9. Discipline beats motivation every time. The great deception of feeling like it. We are a culture obsessed with the spark. We wait for the lightning bolt of inspiration to strike before we start the business. We wait for the rush of New Year's energy to go to the gym. We wait to feel confident before we ask for the promotion or have the difficult conversation. We have been conditioned to believe that human action should be the result of a positive emotional state. This is a lie. And for most people, it is a fatal lie. If you only work when you are motivated, you will never be consistent. And if you are never consistent, you will never be great. Motivation is an emotion, and like every other emotion we have discussed in this book, it is fickle, unreliable, and temporary. It is a chemical high, a surge of dopamine that makes the beginning of a journey feel easy. But what happens when the dopamine fades? What happens when the new car smell of your project wears off? What happens when it's 5 a.m., the room is cold, your body is sore, and that spark is nowhere to be found? This is the graveyard of most people's dreams. They stop because they don't feel like it. They mistake a lack of motivation for a sign that they should quit. The master of emotional discipline understands that feeling like it is irrelevant. Success is not built on how you feel, it is built on what you do. Repetitive reinforcement. Do it tired. Do it scared. Do it anyway. The engine versus the nitrous oxide. Think of your journey toward your goals as a long-distance race. Motivation is like nitrous oxide in a car engine. It's a brilliant, fiery burst of speed. It's fun, it's exciting, and it pushes you forward with incredible force. But it burns out in seconds. You cannot drive from New York to Los Angeles on nitrous oxide alone. Discipline is the engine itself. It is the heavy, iron, reliable machinery that grinds out the miles. It doesn't care about the scenery. It doesn't care if it's raining. It doesn't care if it's bored. It just turns. Most people are trying to run their lives on nothing but bursts of nitrous oxide. They start a diet on Monday because they feel motivated by a mirror. By Wednesday, the motivation is gone, so the diet is gone. They start a side hustle because they watched a hustle culture video. 3 days later, the video's effect has worn off, so the work stops. The emotionally disciplined person doesn't wait for the burst. They build the engine. They understand that the work is the non-negotiable part of the day, like breathing or brushing their teeth. They have decoupled their actions from their moods. Repetitive reinforcement. Do it tired. Do it scared. Do it anyway. The amateur versus the professional. The author Stephen Pressfield once wrote that the difference between an amateur and a professional is in their relationship with their feelings. The amateur believes they must first overcome their feelings of resistance before they can do the work. They think, I feel lazy today, so I'll wait until I'm energized. The professional knows that the work is the cure for the feeling. They know that once they start, the resistance will eventually fade. Think about a professional athlete. Do you think an Olympic swimmer feels like jumping into a freezing pool at 4:30 a.m. every single morning for 20 years? Do you think a world-class surgeon feels motivated to perform a 12-hour surgery after a night of poor sleep? Of course not. They feel tired. They feel stressed. They feel like staying in bed. But they are professionals. They have reached a level of emotional discipline where their feelings are no longer invited to the meeting when it's time to perform. When you allow your feelings to dictate your productivity, you are remaining an amateur. You are telling the world that you are a slave to your internal weather. But when you do the work regardless of your mood, you are claiming your power. You are saying, my goals are more important than my temporary discomfort. The dopamine trap. Modern technology has made us motivation junkies. We scroll through social media looking for inspo or motivational quotes to give us that little hit of dopamine so we can feel good for a moment. We think that if we find the right video or the right book, we will finally have the willpower to change. But willpower is a finite resource. It's like a battery that drains throughout the day. If you rely on willpower and motivation, you will always fail when you are tired, hungry, or stressed. Discipline, however, is a system. It is a set of decision-less actions. The goal of emotional discipline is to take the choice out of the equation. If you have to decide to go to the gym every morning, you will eventually lose, because one morning your brain will offer you a very convincing argument for why you should sleep in. But if you have the discipline of a system, if you lay out your clothes, set the alarm, and move your body before your brain even wakes up, you aren't using willpower. You are using discipline. You are acting before the emotion has a chance to speak. Repetitive reinforcement. Do it tired. Do it scared. Do it anyway. The fear of doing it scared. One of the biggest emotional blocks to discipline is fear. We wait to feel brave before we take a risk. We wait for the butterflies in our stomach to go away before we give the speech. Here is the secret. The butterflies never go away. Even the most successful people in the world feel fear. The difference is that they don't view fear as a red light. They view it as a green light. Fear is just an emotion. It is just your body's way of saying, something important is happening. If you wait until you aren't scared to do something difficult, you will be waiting until you're in your grave. Emotional discipline is the ability to walk through the fire while you are still feeling the heat. It is the ability to pick up the phone and make the sales call while your hand is shaking. It is the ability to hit publish while your heart is pounding with the fear of judgment. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the discipline to act in the presence of fear. Repetitive reinforcement. Do it tired. Do it scared. Do it anyway. Doing it tired. The law of consistency. The most underrated component of success is showing up on your bad days. Anyone can work hard when they've had 8 hours of sleep, a healthy breakfast, and a supportive environment. That's easy. But your character is not built on your best days. Your character, and your future, is built on the days when you are exhausted, when the world is against you, and when you have every valid excuse to take the day off. If you only work on your good days, you are only working 30% of the time. The person who works on their bad days as well is going to lap you within a year. Consistency is the multiplier of talent. A person with average talent but extraordinary discipline will always outperform a genius who only works when they feel inspired. The genius is waiting for the clouds to part. The disciplined person is working in the rain. When you are tired, your brain will tell you that one day won't matter. That is a lie. It's not about the work you do that day. It's about the promise you keep to yourself. Every time you do the work while tired, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. You are proving to yourself that you are stronger than your exhaustion. The 5-minute rule for emotional discipline. If you are struggling to start because your emotions are weighing you down, use the 5-minute rule. Tell yourself, I will do this task for exactly 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, if I still want to stop, I'm allowed to stop. This is a way of bypassing the emotional resistance. Usually, the hardest part of any task is the transition, the move from sitting to doing. Once you are in motion, your psychology shifts. You move from the resistance state to the action state. 9 times out of 10, once you start for 5 minutes, you will finish the hour. But even if you do stop after 5 minutes, you have won. Why? Because you didn't let the emotion win the argument. You still showed up. You still maintained the habit. You still kept the discipline alive. Repetitive reinforcement. Do it tired. Do it scared. Do it anyway. Conclusion of Chapter 9. Stop waiting for a feeling that may never come. Stop checking your internal weather report to see if you have permission to be great today. You don't need permission from your emotions. Your emotions are your passengers, not your navigator. If they want to scream "I'm tired" or "I'm scared" from the backseat, let them scream. You just keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road. Discipline is the ultimate form of self-love. It is the realization that your future self deserves more than your current self's excuses. It is the grit to do what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, whether you like it or not. The world belongs to the disciplined. Not because they are perfect, but because they are still there when everyone else has gone home because the feeling left them. Repetitive reinforcement. Do it tired. Do it scared. Do it anyway. Do it tired. Do it scared. Do it anyway. Chapter 10. Become the calm force in any storm. The inevitability of the storm. Throughout this book, we have discussed the mechanics of your internal world. We have looked at how to silence the chatter of the ego, how to detach from outcomes, and how to master the chemical surges of anger and fear. But all of that training has been for one purpose. For the moment the sky turns black and the winds begin to howl. Life is not a static state of peace. It is a series of storms. There will be seasons of relative calm, but the storms are inevitable. There will be economic collapses that threaten your livelihood. There will be betrayals by people you trusted. There will be health crises that shake your foundation. There will be moments of sheer, unadulterated chaos where it feels like the world is coming apart at the seams. Most people meet these storms with a mirror. If the world is chaotic, they become chaotic. If the world is panicked, they panic. They are like a leaf in the wind, vibrant and energetic when the breeze is light, but helpless and tossed about when the gale hits. But there is another way to exist. You can become the calm force. You can be the individual who, when the storm hits, does not reflect the energy around them, but instead absorbs it, neutralizes it, and provides a center of gravity for everyone else. Repetitive reinforcement. While others panic, you perform. The vacuum of leadership. In any moment of crisis, there is a psychological vacuum. When a ship starts taking on water, or a company starts losing millions, or a family receives devastating news, the first thing that happens is a collective loss of emotional discipline. People begin to vibrate with the frequency of fear. They look at each other, searching for a signal of what to do. They are looking for a leader. In that moment, leadership has nothing to do with your job title, your age, or your bank account. Leadership is determined by who has the most emotional control. The person who is the loudest, the most frantic, or the most emotional is automatically disqualified from leadership. They have become part of the storm. But the person who remains still, the person who speaks with a lower, steadier voice, whose breathing remains deep, and whose eyes remain focused, automatically fills the vacuum. People are biologically hardwired to follow the person who is the least rattled by the environment. By mastering your emotions, you become a beacon. You become the person others rely on. You become the alpha in the room, not through aggression, but through an unshakable composure that signals to the world, I am in command of myself, therefore I can be in command of this situation. Repetitive reinforcement. While others panic, you perform. Chaos is a filter for opportunity. Most people view chaos as a threat. The emotionally disciplined person views chaos as a filter. When a market crashes, the emotional investor panics and sells at the bottom. They are blinded by the feeling of loss. The disciplined investor stays calm. Because they are not panicking, they can see what the emotional person cannot. They see that assets are on sale. They see the opportunity hidden in the wreckage. When a project fails, the emotional team spends weeks blaming each other and mourning the loss. The disciplined leader acknowledges the failure in a single afternoon and immediately begins to pivot. While the competition is still crying, The disciplined leader is already capturing the new market. Chaos moves the pieces on the board. For the emotional person, this is terrifying because they are attached to how the pieces used to be. For the disciplined person, this is an advantage because they are detached and observant. They realize that when the world is in flux, new paths open up that were previously blocked. You cannot see these paths if your eyes are clouded by tears or your brain is foggy with rage. You can only see them from the eye of the storm. In the center of a hurricane, there is a small circle of absolute peace. While the winds are spinning at 150 miles per hour just a mile away, in the eye, you can see the sun. Your emotional discipline is your ability to stay in the eye. While the world is spinning, you are looking for the opening. Repetitive reinforcement. While others panic, you perform. The pillar for others. There is a profound responsibility that comes with emotional discipline. Once you become the calm force, you realize that you are no longer living just for yourself. In every family, in every business, and in every friendship, there is usually one person who is the pillar. This is the person everyone calls when things go wrong. Why do they call that person? Not because they have all the answers, but because they have the most stability. Being the pillar is not always easy. It means you don't always get to vent. It means you have to be the one who stays awake while others sleep. It means you have to hold the line when everyone else wants to retreat. But this is where real power resides. There is no greater feeling of worth than knowing that when the pressure hit its peak, you were the one who didn't crack. There is no greater respect than the respect earned in the heat of a crisis. When you become the calm force, you give others permission to be calm, too. Your composure is infectious. Just as panic spreads like a virus, peace spreads like a light. By being the disciplined one, you are actually performing an act of service for everyone around you. You are the anchor that keeps the whole ship from drifting onto the rocks. Repetitive reinforcement. While others panic, you perform. The ultimate mastery. Integration. As we reach the conclusion of this journey, it is time to integrate everything you have learned. Emotional discipline is not a set of tips or hacks. It is a philosophy of existence. It is the realization that you are not your feelings. Your feelings are just weather patterns passing through your consciousness. Reaction is a choice. There is always a gap between what happens and what you do. That gap is where your freedom lives. Silence is your greatest weapon. You don't need to win every argument. You just need to win the war. Discipline is the only true freedom. If you are a slave to your impulses, you are not free. You are only free when you have the power to tell yourself no. The real power mentioned in the title of this book is not power over others. It is sovereignty. It is the ability to walk through a world that is designed to distract you, provoke you, and weaken you, and to remain completely yourself. It is the power to be told no and not feel rejected. It is the power to be insulted and not feel diminished. It is the power to be tired and still do the work. It is the power to be afraid and still move forward. The final test. The test of this book will not come when you finish this chapter. The test will come tomorrow, or next week, or next year. It will come in the form of a phone call that brings bad news. It will come in the form of a person who says something cruel to your face. It will come in the form of a moment where you are utterly exhausted and you want to quit. In that moment, I want you to remember these words. I want you to feel the surge of emotion, and I want you to smile. Smile because you recognize the test. Smile because you know that the emotion is just a chemical and you are the alchemist. Smile because you know that this storm is the very thing you have been training for. While everyone else in that situation is letting their emotions drive them off a cliff, while they are yelling, crying, blaming, or hiding, you will do something different. You will pause. You will breathe. You will observe. And then, with the cold, calculated precision of a master, you will act. You will not act based on how you feel. You will act based on who you are and what you intend to achieve. You will be the calm voice. You will be the steady hand. You will be the one who sees the opportunity while others only see the disaster. The world is full of people who are driven by their emotions. Be the person who drives them. Repetitive reinforcement. While others panic, you perform. While others panic, you perform. While others panic, you perform. Epilogue. The journey never ends. Emotional discipline is a lifelong practice. You will have days where you fail. You will have days where your anger gets the better of you, or your insecurity wins. When that happens, do not fall into the trap of emotional guilt. Guilt is just another emotion trying to distract you from your discipline. Instead, treat your failure as a data point. Ask, what was the trigger? Where did I lose the gap? And then return to the practice. The goal is not perfection. The goal is resilience. You are now equipped with the tools to be a person of unshakable power. You have the map. You have the techniques. You have the philosophy. Now, all that remains is the work. Go out into the world. Embrace the chaos. Welcome the storms. And remember, no matter how loud the thunder gets, the real power is the silence within you. Feel it. Don't follow it. Observe it. Don't obey it. Chaos loses. Calm conquers. Stillness is strength. Control effort. Release results. Do it tired. Do it scared. Do it anyway. While others panic, you perform. This concludes the book. Emotional discipline is the real power.